Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with some more overly sarcastic productions. Taking a little break here from Trope Talks, and we're hitting the Fables and Folktales. This time their newest one, Shippeitaro. I'm gonna assume I pronounced that right, for now, until Red proves me wrong, which she most likely will, as always happens. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Got nothing else to add here at the beginning of this video. This is a Japanese fable or folktale or both. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Have you ever had that thought? You know, man.
That thought? Yeah, I don't have many of those.
Man, I would thrive so much in crisis. You know, the only problem is the world is all
Yeah?
safe and simple and stuff. But if circumstances just conspired to put me in an action hero situation, I would do great. I bet if I was trekking across a beautiful, suspiciously New Zealandy landscape with a crew of true companions on a perilous quest, I'd have a much easier time getting them into our dang weekly board game nights. Archaeology would be so much more fun if it actually involved dodging traps and punching Nazis on moving tanks.
God, I want to punch some Nazis. That would be great.
I'd kick ass at that. I hate calling my doctor and my bank because the true test of my bravery would be using kung fu to fight a crew of ne'er-do-wells in an exciting action set piece on top of a moving train. Now, of course, that little voice is not to be trusted because it belongs to your inner storyteller, the part of you that once upon a time played sword fights or dragon slaying or Star Wars on the playground before eventually maturing into game nights, improv comedy, theater, writing, or really any other creative
Dungeons and Dragons!
outlet for that beautiful little what-if instinct. It's a vital part of you, but it's not always the best at reading the room or accepting that the real world does not operate on the logic of a story. So it's kind of funny to
Excuse you. I'm gonna prove you wrong, Red. I'm gonna go fight and punch Nazis.
encounter a fantastical folktale where the protagonist has the exact same struggle. Today's story is a Japanese tale first documented in English in the late 1800s by Mrs. T.H. James in a children's picture book, and then later featured in Andrew Lang's The Violet Fairy book in 1901, one of several compilations of folktales he collected from around the world. However, unlike in the similar case of Tokoyo and the Sea Monster, the story of Shippeitaro is also documented in Japan, and in fact has several different localized versions, meaning this story was definitely not made up by some proto-weeb in 1800s Europe, which is a relief. You always gotta check these things. Anyway, the story of Shippeitaro begins with a nameless young man leaving his village in search of fame and adventure, this just being the way things were done back in folklore Japan. But he finds himself almost quixotically frustrated at the lack of adventure opportunities. Despite living in a world chock-a with yokai, he can find no monsters to slay, no damsels to rescue, and overall nothing that would allow him to finally display his true heroic potential. After all, it's hard to be a hero in a world with no easy villains. But his luck changes one day when he reaches the foothills of an extremely scary-looking mountain that practically screams, "Here there be plot hooks," and he starts hiking his way up through dense underbrush and shadowy trees. Unfortunately, the mountain of plot hooks turns out to be a huge pain in the ass, and he fails to find a way out of the forest before nightfall, only managing to locate a large stone shrine which he takes shelter in for the night. But at midnight, a sudden horrible sound wakes him, and he sees that outside the shrine are a truly staggering number of cats, which is probably a little disheartening if you're on the hunt for extremely dramatic adventure. But these folkloric cats are not the cute and cuddly kind. Japanese folklore has a habit of highlighting the sinister and untrustworthy nature of the cat, and this tale is no exception. These cats are partying up a storm under the light of
Partying?
the
What
full
the
moon,
fuck?
dancing and caterwauling and overall behaving in a very unnerving manner. As the young man watches, he begins to make out words in the wailing. "Don't tell Shippeitaro. Don't tell him we've been partying it up on this mountain. It'd be just awful if our one weakness was exploited. Don't you do it. Don't nobody do it." Anyway, this goes on for a while until the midnight hour is officially over and the cats all vanish. The young man officially decides that that's a tomorrow problem and goes back to sleep. The next morning, he wakes up quite hungry and a bit worn out, but thanks to the morning light, he spots a footpath he'd previously overlooked that leads him to a small village. But before he can get anything to eat, he's distracted by the sound of an extremely unhappy woman screaming and crying for help. Alarmed, he asks the
Excuse me? Oh, yeah, this probably looks pretty bad.
apparently indifferent townsfolk what the heck is going on, and they sadly inform him that he's arrived on the occasion of an annual sacrifice to the spirit of the mountain. The unfortunate girl was selected by lot and will be sealed in a cask and placed in the very shrine the young man sheltered in for the spirit of the mountain to come and consume her. This is obviously very troubling for the young man to hear, though it does provide some context for why those cats were so jazzed. But then he remembers something and asks the local
I need to find Shippeitaro. It's a nice thought, but petting a dog can only do so much.
who or what is a Shippeitaro? Confused by the apparent non sequitur in such a grim conversation, they say that Shippeitaro is the name of the dog that belongs to the local lord. The young man jets off in that direction.
Nice kid.
leaving the townspeople rather baffled, and before long he arrives at the Lord's
Is your dog busy?
estate and frantically asks if he can borrow his dog. The Lord is
Excuse me? I have it on good authority that only your dog can save the day. And believe me, I'm not happy either. Oh my god, the dog's fucking face, dude. I fucking love it. I fucking love it, man.
surprisingly rather confused and suspicious of this request, but the young man insists that it's a matter of life and death and it'll only be for one day. He promises. The Lord reluctantly agrees, and the young man takes Shippeitaro back to the village. He tells the sacrificial girl's parents to hide her in the closet for the night and secretly stows Shippeitaro in the sacrificial cask in her place. Then he heads back up the mountain
Morph. You said it, buddy.
and hides in the shrine until the cask is brought up, and then he and Shippeitaro wait for the plot to come and find them. At midnight, under the full moon, the cats reappear, this time accompanied by a huge black cat that is clearly Mondo Supernatural and evidently their leader. The spirit of the mountain saunters up to the cask, pops the lock, and prepares to devour the girl inside, only to be absolutely demolished
Ah, my one weakness.
when Shippeitaro pops out and glomps him instead. The young man seizes his chance and springs out, decapitating the demonic cat in one swing of his hitherto useless sword. The rest of the nightmare cats
People are not for eating. Go on, scat. Meow.
freak out and scatter with a little encouragement from Shippeitaro and the sword, and Shippeitaro and the young man return
Someone's been a very good boy. Is it me?
to the village at sunrise with the good news. The heroic goodest of boys is returned to his master and honored with an annual feast in celebration of them not having to do any more blood sacrifices, and the young man is also there. Hey, sometimes heroism is less about proving one's might and slaying the dragon and more about finding the right tool for the right job. And sometimes the right tool happens to be just the cutest little guy.
look at him.
Oh, yes you are.
Justice. Shout out to Kaibyo, the Supernatural Cats of Japan by Zach Davison. A very fun read about the many different magical cats of Japanese folklore that initially directed me to this story. Frantically Googling Shiba Inus to try and figure out a consistent way to draw Shippeitaro's dumb, adorable face. I have been waiting so long to end with a song from Cats, and it didn't even hit me that it would work until like 2 days ago. And that was Fables and Folktales, Shippeitaro. Yeah, this was a fun one. Short, sweet, nothing too much going on with it, but it was nice and fun. Always gotta love the fables and folktale, the stories that have a dog in it. So I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.